Hey Cancer, this is Rebecca from Being Human Tarot with your November 2018 reading. This month I'm reading with the Illis Tarot, which is a really cool deck that's filled with the majors and the court cards represented by 90s pop culture icons. So if you're a child of the 90s like me, I think that you'll get a lot out of that. The only caveat is that the minors are represented very literally. So, for example, if you got the Five of Cups as a pull, that card would literally have 5 cups and no other illustrations or kind of like background to really work with intuitively. And so because of that, I'll be reverting to using Smith Rider-Waite imagery. Just a heads up. This month I'm continuing with the same 3-card spread that I've done in previous months, where the first card represents what to focus on, the second card represents what to set aside, and the third card represents an additional consideration for the month. So, I don't know what that was. In your position of what to focus on this month, you drew the Knight of Swords, which I actually also pulled this card for another sign. On a different day because I split up the readings because it's a lot. It's a lot to do 12 at once. And in that same reading, I mentioned that I don't remember the name of this actress, but I know that she was the actress who was in Empire Records. So, as a focus, the Knight of Swords is a very fast-moving knight. It's the quickest knight, and the knights are all about movement. So, this month they're really being called to go forth with, and then swords are mental energy. So you're kind of asked to go forth like guns blazing with whatever ideas that you've had percolating. So whether that's just been something that's more recently happening or recently thought of, or this has been a long time coming maybe, now is the time to really take action. On that stuff. And if it's not an idea in the way that like a new creative project or something, it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but maybe it's just a boundary that you realize you now really need to set with someone. Because swords energy is all in the mind. And so it could be like, a range of things. And I think that you'll know because I'm hearing that like it really was something that it's been coming up. Even if it's been coming up for a long time, even if it's just been coming up, I think you know what it is, like where you need to focus. And if you've been holding back intentionally or unintentionally, maybe outside forces have prevented you from really taking the step of being like, no, you don't get to call me those names, you don't get to do like A, B, C, D, because you're in a living situation where if you made that call, like perhaps your safety was at stake, anything. Like I know that's a very specific example, but now's the time to take what's been going on mentally and just like bring it forth, let others know. In your position of set aside, you drew the 8 of Cups. So you can see what I mean about this card being super literal with the 8 cups right there and no other illustrations. And typically this is a card about moving on from something, specifically moving on from something that we've worked hard to build. So in Smith Rider-Waite, it's a man leaning on kind of like a cane or a wand as he walks off, and there are these 8 cups in the background, and none of them are broken. Everything's very intact and solid, and but he's feeling the need to leave that. And then in the corner, there's an eclipse happening, which eclipse signals drastic change, right? And so, you know, in a different positioning, this could be, you know, indicating that you need to move on. However, it's in your position of set aside, meaning that it's not quite time yet. And it's showing up because it will be time soon. It's definitely, there's relevance. It's not just telling you like, hey, never move on from like a thing that you thought you wanted and maybe you don't. Because I have a feeling these are pretty interlinked. Like you're going to start vocalizing and making things known that you need for yourself now. However, it might not be time to actually like make a 1000% jump yet. So I realize that's a little bit of it feels a little bit like a contradiction because it's like now's the time, but not yet. So just try to like measure up and like balance where both of these are living in your life right now. What is it that you want to move on from? What are the benefits from maybe holding back a little bit and delaying that? Not forever, but just for right now, while at the same time making sure that you're speaking your truth and you're not, you know, agonizing and by not like starting to take the action, because you do need to start. You've got a lot going on in your mind. And then you've got some emotional stuff here that will be the logical follow, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. In your position of additional considerations, you drew Tupac as the King of Cups. And so you've got several cups here, right? So again, like I said, whatever that mental energy, new decision making, like boundary perhaps, boundary holding perhaps, it is very emotional for you. And the Knight of Swords is actually very emotional. The most emotional knight, I would say, even more so than the Knight of Cups, which might not seem like that would be but he's like, when he's on his horse, the horse is snarling, he's like, it's rearing, it's a whole thing. There's a lot of feelings going on there. And so the King of Cups, as an additional consideration, is a reminder that to emulate him, meaning as much as you're raring to go, and like this could be angry energy, frankly. You could be pissed about something that you feel wronged about something that you want to course correct. You might even be feeling a little pissed that you have to leave a thing of comfort that used to work for you. And even though you recognize that soon it will be time to do this, again, like not right now, but that it's not, sorry, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but you might be pissed that it has to happen at all, even though it's not happening right now. So that's a lot. Those are a lot of feelings. It's a disruption to your life. It's not sort of this smooth sailing situation. There's a lot of action going on. And the King of Cups is here to remind you that despite all of this going on that feels pretty turbulent, it's a big upheaval, it's a big life change, to try to take his role as he would, handle these things. Meaning, when all of this stuff is going on, the stuff that feels like you can't control, the stuff that's very emotional, let yourself have those feelings, but let them kind of wash over you. It's sort of like if you've ever done a guided meditation, how they instruct you to like name your thoughts. Like, you know, kind of just try to like focus and tune out, not stop having thoughts, but like as they come through, try to name them. So like worry, anxiety. So as you're going through this, allow yourself to have those feelings, but let them not dominate you. Create space for them to exist, and then I want to say let them go, but I don't mean that in a way like now you're done with them. I just mean kind of like, so if you're the King of Cups, like sailing on a throne on the water, like every feeling that comes, like let it wash over you and then free it. There's some gongs, there are chimes, gongs happening in the hallway, so they might overpower my voice a little bit, but I think they're very pleasant, so hopefully you enjoy those too. But yeah, so it's a reminder to kind of stay as calm as possible given these less than ideal circumstances. And it's not even so much, I regret saying less than ideal, because you're making room. You're making room to do better for yourself with potential like boundaries or whatever it is that's going on in your mind that like you need to draw some new lines for. You're moving away from something you don't need anymore, even if it's something you feel attached to. So that's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. And I mean, I don't want to be too repetitive because I feel like I've said this a couple times now, but basically it's okay to be upset about it. But, and I also, this is another thing that I say for a lot of the cards, or a lot of different readings, because I feel like it makes sense in a lot of readings. Like, it's okay to feel these things, but do as the King of Cups would do and don't live there with them. So that is your reading for November. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If you hit the bell icon after subscribing, you'll be automatically notified as soon as I upload this suite of videos for all the signs, which I do before the first of every month. So that's it. I'm going to pause this and pan down so that you can see the cards visually laid out in front of me, because that's helpful. At least I think it's helpful. And that's how you would see them in sort of like a typical in-person reading. So yeah, that's it. Thanks, Cancer. So as you can see, you've got the Knight of Swords, the Eight of Cups, and the King of Cups. Thanks for tuning in.